And in a genre film, it is very, very important that you stay like right on the track. You do not dwell. So you need to cut your flap out, which is very, very important. That's an impression which we have. But it is very important to know, which festival and which section in that festival that film is going to.
Right.
Now that shadow fighting, which I have done all my childhood, helped me when I was writing. I would say fear, insecurity, and I was challenging myself whether I can do this or not. I'd written the story earlier,
Right.
but writing a story is one thing, and then writing a script or a screenplay is completely another aspect altogether.
Correct.
Hi, I am Nikhil Nagesh Bhat. I'm the director of Kill, and you're watching IWMBuzz.
Well, to paraphrase Karan Johar from one of the recent events, इतना शांत और इतना सुलझा हुआ इंसान किल जैसी फिल्म बना सकता है, ये कौन सोच सकता है? Well, if you've not understood what I'm talking about, the person I'm in conversation with is none other than the director of Kill, Nikhil Nagesh Bhat. Hi, sir. Please welcome.
Thank you so much.
I was really sold, when Karan said that, because of course, literally, I mean, it's one of those things that you visualize about something about a person and then you see kill. Are you still getting that? Are you still getting that?
Yeah. I mean, all the time I get this, that how can you make this kind of a film? How can you write this kind of a film? So I keep telling them the volcano is inside my head, not outside.
Yeah, that's true. Fantastic. So, one of the first things, I find very fascinating so far about your filmography as a director. I know you've done obviously a lot more IT work as well. But that actually, I think this is your first sort of, encounter with box office. I mean, yes, Hurdam did come in, but it was COVID. It was a very, hasty release. So I don't think that really came into factor. So this is the first time you're seeing box office come into play, and Kill is really on an encouraging run. Might be hitting double figures and cross soon. How is that feeling for you? Because I think it must be a first, and it's probably very butterflies in the stomach kind of a thing.
Oh yes, of course. It is butterfly and stomachs and a bunch of them. And it is extremely important because the producers have put in money, and they need to get that money back. So it is extremely important. Like I keep saying, awards are important, but rewards are more important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yes, but at the same time, I'm excited because it's a new thing. And I'm sure, like what you said, like it's going from strength to strength.
True.
So I'm not worried about it because I'm getting that kind of a feeling and the kind of a love which is coming, which is pouring in. I'm pretty confident about this.
True. Fantastic. And because as I mentioned, and I think now you're very much speaking Karan Johar's language when you say, awards, to theek hai, rewards aane zaruri hai. And that's true, especially in, Karan, the fickleness, how everything is so fickle right now. Yeah. I think that matters the most. My next question is, sir, that, I've repeatedly, seen and had brief conversations as well. Lakshya, Raghav, and I just had a long interview with Taniya as well last week. They were consistently talking about, everything was on paper. Even if you see there's a bone crack in the shot, even if you see there is a blood gushing in this amount and that much, everything was on paper. Everything was in the script, basically. I find it very fascinating because to put in so much detailing into your writing, which is then executed in a particular way, how much did that affect you as a person? You and Aisha Syed, who's obviously the other, your co-writer. How much does that affect you? Because sometimes as writers, you visualize things as well.
Yeah.
So there's so much going on in your head and you probably need to detach after a while as well. What's the factor?
I've not done an action film. I've never done and especially this kind of an action film. So there was a lot of, I would say, fear, insecurity, and I was challenging myself whether I can do this or not. I'd written the story earlier.
Right.
But writing a story is one thing, and then writing a script or a screenplay is completely another aspect altogether.
Correct.
And when I started writing, I called up a couple of action choreographers just to get how do you suppose this is the scene, how do you do it? So they said, don't worry about it. You just write the situation and send it to us. We will we'll figure it out.
Right.
And then I said that is not possible in this film because this 70% of the film is that.
Exactly.
And it is an emotional journey. It is not like that it is just one
Bam,
action
bam.
piece after the other.
Correct.
So there is that emotional journey of the characters going from one point A to point B or point C to point D. So it is very, very important and integral that I have to write this out. There is no other option but to write this out.
Right.
So then that's when I sat down and so now that you're talking about it, like when we were kids, we would, and I'm telling you the reason why I'm saying this
Yes, of course.
is we would play a game called Deshum Deshum.
Of course.
I'm sure
I think everybody has.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
So what is that? That is like shadow fighting. Now that shadow fighting, which I have done all my childhood, helped me when I was writing
Amazing.
film. Because then I would play Amrit, and then I would play another Goon, I would play another Siddhi or a Ravi, and I would shadow fight. And when I would shadow fight, I would figure out, okay, so he's turning left and writing and doing this. So then I would write, he's turning left and doing this.
Okay.
So my entire action was written when I actually killed those 42 people.
Of course.
So it was a kind of experience which I was just putting it down on paper, and and you like what you spoke about Aisha. Just to tell you that 90% of Raghav's dialogues are written by Aisha.
I am intrigued. That is amazing.
Yes. So she brought in that quirk and she brought that thing alive that you will love him and you will hate him
exactly at the same time.
So
That
it
makes
is all her.
sense.
Yeah. So she must be that warped also.
That is so crazy because I thought that Raghav does have an inherent sense of humor which everybody knows and loves him for. So I'm sure that मुझे लगा कि थोड़ा बहुत तो improv होगा. He must have added his own quirks.
No, hardly.
That's even crazier.
Also the reason there is a reason to that is because there are very few dialogues in the film.
Right.
So we were very, very clear that whatever dialogues Raghav is going to be speaking, or Lakshya is going to be speaking, or anybody else is going to be speaking, they have to be very, very powerful. And they have to be very, very definite. So it cannot be like it cannot be loosely loosely formatted or loosely structured dialogues. They need to land well.
True.
Because there are very few dialogues. So that's the reason why, of course, Raghav has done a couple of improvisations, but they're like very few improvisations.
Right.
Most of them were put on paper by Aisha.
That is fabulous. I'm so blown away by that because I thought that, how can you write? Like sometimes there is, truth is stranger than fiction kind of a situation.
Yes.
You think that, this is maybe a flow mein nikal gaya, something kind of a thing. But no, everything is on paper.
Everything was on paper.
That's fascinating. Superb. And, sir, that leads me to my next question. So far, it was so important throughout the promotions, especially in India, when it was said to, kid is happening on this release and everything. I think it was so important that Karan and everyone else was consistently saying that do not market or, do not term it to be a non-commercial film or an artsy film, which is just a festival film per se.
Sure.
Right. And I think it's important to say that because the action is such an art form which is usually done in just one way and appreciated in one way. But here it was something absolutely different. Do you feel it was essential that that kind of an information was needed to be communicated to the people?
What happens is more often than not we feel that films which go to festivals are not commercial. And that is something which is very unfortunate.
Correct.
And it is not true. Because a film like John Wick erupted out of a festival.
Absolutely.
A film like Sisu broke out from a festival.
Correct.
A film like Lunchbox broke out from a festival which did so much of
box office and everything,
all over the world. So that's an impression which we have. But it is very important to know, which festival and which section in that festival that film is going to.
Right.
So, for example, Kill went to Midnight Madness, which is a genre-specific section of Toronto. And that is the place where it broke out from. And that is a place because Lionsgate came and saw the film over there. They wanted to take the film for distribution in North America and UK from there.
Absolutely.
So the reason, and Lionsgate is a huge studio,
Of
and
course.
they would not put in money in an art house cinema. They might put money in art house.
Yeah, but that's a
not
very
enough.
different approach. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is something which and giving such a wide release internationally is because that it's at the core of it. It's a commercial film.
Correct. Absolutely. That makes sense. And of course, as I mentioned, that it pretty much has received unanimous acclaim, and rightfully so. There are factors, of course, but at the end of the day, it's subjective, and there's always going to be people, who has their bits of, and it's not necessary to say that, that's slamming the film. That's just one of those things that some things work for them, sometimes it doesn't.
Of course.
So the one aspect I think which has been a little more consistent than other sets of criticism is about not really delving that much into the flashback, which probably would have helped maybe the Indian audiences more than the international audiences to connect and understand his mad motive to avenge his just recently deceased girlfriend. What is your take on that?
It's a genre film. This is the first of its kind in Indian cinema. So when you look at a genre film, there is not so much of explanation.
Right.
So, for example, John Wick or even a Sisu, you don't get to know so much detail
You're right.
about the characters. Coming down to India, I'm saying, look at the Badlapur. The structure is almost like a genre film.
I understand. Yeah.
So you don't get to know, where, what the backstory is. For example, like I feel, say, Satya is a genre film.
I agree.
You don't get to know where Chakravarti is coming from. You have no idea what is past. So it's not that this is the first time we are experiencing this. We have seen this before. We have known this before. And in a genre film, it is very, very important that you stay like right on the track. You do not dwell. So you need to cut your flap out, which is very, very important.
Absolutely.
And that's an experience. This is a different kind of cinema. It's a different kind of an experience. So that's what I feel it is. And to be very honest, I'd written it down. I'd written it down. The dialogues were also written.
Okay.
We had gone and shot it. But my editor, Shiv, he, the first cut, normally I don't sit on the edit. So when I came back and he showed me the film, we had chopped off 12 minutes of the film.
Okay.
And I did not miss it.
Wow.
This is great. This is fabulous.
Doesn't need, you don't need the extra.
You don't need so much, because what you need to know is that they were in love and this is going to happen to them.
Correct.
And that information is coming across.
Absolutely. Fair, totally fair. And one final question in terms of this is that so far, again, as I mentioned, throughout your directorial ventures so far, you've mostly worked with, I wouldn't say newbies, but you've obviously worked with people who are still probably exploring themselves, in the industry. And I always find it very, intriguing, because there is so much raw, energy that they bring to a particular role, and that is probably such a director's dream, I would say, because that is such a different factor when you work with seasoned veterans or seasoned superstars and everything. What has been of any observation about Lakshya, Raghav, because we're talking about Kill? So what's been the observation about these three people and others that intrigued you the most, and you felt that okay, this is fantastic?
When I feel when you're working and you're striving to be a certain character, that journey is something which teaches you a lot about the character. So when I'm talking about a Lakshya, or when I'm talking about a Raghav or a Taniya, they are they're too hungry to get into that the skin of the character.
Right.
So they are crossing, I would say, oceans and mountains to play that character.
Right.
Which gives them that impetus, and there's so much of hard work, because it's challenging them. It is posing such a huge challenge to them, and all three of them and the other actors also, they are too hungry to do that. Which makes them excel, and which makes them reach that character and be and live that character. So that's, I feel, as a director, it's a huge thing for me because
Correct.
they are making all that effort. Apart from the fact that I'm making an effort in a different way, but they are making that effort, and that effort is paying off on the screen.
True, absolutely, absolutely, and have to round it up with in terms of the questions is that because there's so much buzz, and it's still doing all the crazy amount of all the crazy amount of conversation that's coming in with it. Already, people, at least friends of mine have been asking me what is he up to next. I'm going to kid you not because I'm a gore lover. I love when gore is done right. So I was immediately like, yes, I'm gonna ask him. So what are you all coming up with next?
I've tasted blood.
Ah!
So yes, definitely. I'm currently writing.
Right.
I'm writing action.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's that's also very that's a revenge story.
Amazing.
It's a personal story again. So yes.
Yeah, just at the brink of it, if at all you want to do action, would you do over the top action? Would you be up for it?
It depends on the story.
Mhm.
It really
Okay.
depends on the story.
Right.
So if the story is like that, then why not?
Hmm.
Yeah. But on the heart of it, if the story is that it's that personal, then it will be a different kind of an action.
Perfect. Fantastic. Superb. Thank you, sir. Thank you.